What's up, everyone? How's it going? Hope you're doing well, and welcome back to the channel. And today we are talking about Final Destination Bloodlines, and is it as good as people are saying? There's a lot of buzz about this movie. We can jump over to here to Rotten Tomatoes, and as you can see, a lot of people are enjoying this movie. Not only the critics that we always talk about, right, sitting at a 93% on the tomato meter, but the actual viewer score, which is now turned into the popcorn meter, is sitting at an 88% with over 2,500 verified ratings coming in. And my question is it legit? Is it really that good? And I must say, it is honestly that good of a movie. You could see over here at Screen Rant where they're saying it's got a $120 million opening weekend. And it's going to set a franchise box office record in just weeks, which is insane. Final Destination, look, they're good movies, okay? Don't get me wrong. I love the first one. The second one was pretty good. Third one is all right, you know. And then we can kind of see it. Fourth and fifth one were a little sketchy, in my opinion. The fifth one, which came out, I think, back in 2011, I think that was the one that was 3D. But we'll talk about that in another video. But this is just kind of popped up out of nowhere. I honestly didn't even see this on my radar, being a movie that came out, and it honestly blew me away. It is 100% as good as they are saying. If you are a fan of horror movies, if you are a fan of Final Destination movies, I cannot recommend this movie enough. Now, I'm going to go into the review and give you my thoughts. It's going to be as spoiler-free as possible, and then I'll talk about that stuff a little bit towards the end, so in case you don't want to be spoiled, and I highly recommend you go in as cold as possible, avoid that until maybe you've seen the movie. But overall, I absolutely love this movie, and I will say this, even if you don't know much about Final Destination, or you've only seen a couple of the movies, the great part about Final Destination Bloodlines is the simple fact that you don't have to have seen literally any of them. As long as you know the premise of what the movie's about, they do such a good job with this movie that you can go in cold as long as, again, you understand the premise and you'll understand everything. They did this movie perfectly, and it is honestly so far one of the best movies that I have seen all year, which is insane. If you asked me this 2 weeks ago, was this a movie that I was looking forward to? Absolutely not. No way, no how. Not even on my radar of being a good movie. And I walked out of the theater having had such a great time and great experience. This is absolutely a movie that you should go see in the theater. Now, I'm getting ahead of myself because that's part of my review, but I'm just very excited about this movie, and I loved every single bit of it. The characters, everything was well done. There's not one part of this movie where I'm like, oh, that was stupid, or I could have lived without that, or, you know, there was no messaging in the movie. There was no current day politics. Nothing like that was in this movie. It was just pure Final Destination type stuff. And listen, as we've seen before in some of these other movies like Destination 4 and 5, they got a little cheesy. I will admit that. I did not see that in this movie whatsoever. Everything in this movie was pretty solid. The acting was really well done. The characters were pretty good. There's not one that really like stood out and annoyed me or anything. Obviously, Tony Todd makes an appearance, and if you are a fan of the Final Destination series, you understand how important he is to the franchise. And even if you don't know how important he is to the franchise, they explain how he makes sense and how he kind of ties into all this, because again, he's popped up pretty much in every movie. So they did this beautifully, and sadly, this was Tony Todd's last movie, and there's a really good scene in there, which I'm going to talk about later on in the review, that was just beautifully done in his honor, and it was just great. The kill scenes were awesome. There were definitely tons of twists in there. This was so much fun. I would actually go again to see this if I could. This is definitely something to stream. This is definitely something to own. I cannot get over how well this movie was. And listen, this movie's almost 2 hours. It's just short of it. It's like an hour, 50 minutes. And there's not really many parts in this movie where I feel like, that shouldn't have been in there. We should have cut this out. It drug along. It was solid all the way through. I highly enjoyed this movie. The acting was well done. There really weren't many big actors and actresses that I can recall besides Tony Todd, and I have to admit, they did a really good job. There wasn't anyone that was really bad acting, nothing. So again, I'm trying not to repeat myself, but if you are looking for a movie to get out and go to the theaters and you like just kind of fun, scary movies like this, I cannot recommend this movie enough. Even if you don't have the time to check out the other movies, I think it's better if you go in knowing the other movies, because you'll understand and catch on to some of the other Easter eggs that are throughout the movie, because they definitely do nods to this movie or to other movies within this movie. But overall, even if you haven't seen it, you wouldn't be spoiled. It wouldn't ruin it for you. You would absolutely love this. Getting into some of the spoilers, I'm going to talk about at least Tony Todd's scene. So if you don't want any spoilers, I would drop out now, maybe come back later and check it out. But go check out this movie. It's definitely worth your time. So getting to Tony Todd's final scenes, like I said, he has passed away due to real life illness. And you could tell in this movie too, looking at him, he's ill. And if you've seen the movie and you know what I'm talking about, he actually mentions his illness in this movie. Again, they show you kind of where and how he ties into the Final Destination storyline, where he was the little kid in that restaurant all those years ago. And death is finally catching up and getting to everybody. Now he's managed to survive it, but now it seems like cancer or some illness has gotten to him. So he's gonna meet his maker, right? But this scene and his lines in the movie were all unscripted. It says here, Tony Todd's final lines in the Final Destination Bloodlines were unscripted. The directors asked him to speak directly to the fans. And he says, quote, and this is in the movie. I can confirm this because I saw the movie. I intend to enjoy the time that I have left, and I suggest you do the same. Life is precious. Enjoy every single second. You never know when. Good luck. We all knew that he was quite ill, and that was pretty clear that this was going to be the last role he would play. That scene is so emotional and authentic because that was just Tony talking through the camera to the very fans who supported him for so many years. And again, if you're a fan of horror movies like I am, he's the famous Candyman, right? And he's been in a bunch of other movies. He's been in all the other Final Destination movies, and I loved his scene. When I saw him pop up, when I knew he was going to show up right when they get to the scene of the morgue, and that's where he's always been. And once I remembered that he was going to be in the movie and I saw where they were leading to, it popped in my head like, oh man, he was the little kid. He was the little kid in the tower that in her premonition she saved. So again, I love the flashback portion of this, where I did not expect that to be kind of taking place in like the 60s or 50s. And then it ties into current day stuff. That was so smart and so freaking well done that I loved it. Like, I never thought in a million years they were going to start all the way back and it lead all the way to current day stuff, and then somehow tie into all these other movies. Like, it was brilliant. The way they wrote it, the way they did it. Again, if you never saw the movies and you're still watching this and you didn't care about the spoilers, you don't have to even have seen the other movies, because they tie it up in a neat little bow to where the regular fan who just wants to go see the movie and doesn't want to watch 5 others previously, you can go in blind. Or you could be a mega fan and have watched them all, and you're going to go and you're going to go, I remember that. I remember that. There's Easter eggs, especially during the credits. when you see the penny rolling and you see all the news articles and the news clippings, there's so many little Easter eggs, little nods to other kills and how people died throughout the other movies. Like, this was so much fun, and I enjoyed this movie, and it reminded me of having a good theater experience. I left the theater just completely blown away. Like, I just have not had that much of a good time in a long time. The ending, I'm not even going to mention the ending, but I was not expecting the way that movie ended at all. And it was in a good way. Like, absolutely love this movie. Had such a blast with it. I would absolutely see this again. Definitely worth going to the theater to see. This is, I mean, you could stream it, of course, when it comes out, but if you have a chance, if you have the money and you want to get out and see something in the theaters, I definitely recommend you support movies like this, because listen, if you are a big fan of movies like I am, you got to support the movies that are good and are worth it. And I definitely think this is one of them, because I missed experiences like this. I remember, and I'm sure you do as well, that a lot of our experiences back in the day used to be like this. You come out of the movie theater excited, talking to your friends, going through all the things, right? Like, and that's how I left the theater. We were talking about, oh my God, do you remember that scene? Do you remember this? That was so cool. I love that character. I did not expect that. Blah, 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 blah. Like, you know, half the time you leave a theater now and you're like, yeah, it was all right. You know what I mean? This was just so much fun. They did a great job. Hats off to them. The way they wrote it, the way they filmed it. I didn't expect a lot of things, and usually you can expect some of these things and the way they die and stuff. And man, it was just extremely fun. It was a good time, and I loved every minute of it. And I may go see it again before it gets out of theaters. So like I said, I had a blast watching it, and then maybe now I'll catch on to even more Easter eggs that I may have missed in the first showing. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Did you go and get a chance to see this yet? And if so, let me know what you think. Let me know what you thought about it. Maybe you didn't feel the same way, because listen, we're all different, right? So if you didn't like this movie, let me know why. Maybe something just hit you wrong or whatever. I don't know. But let me know in the comments. As always, if you like this video, hit the like button, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And I'll catch you guys at the next review. See you.